I'm here in overcast Alberta. If you want to just let us know where you're from so we can see who's watching us on this Tuesday morning, that would be awesome. I'm going to flip the camera so that you can see my face. Hi, everybody. So welcome to Instagram Live with Janome Canada. We're really excited that you're here, and we've got some really interesting stuff today. It's Embroidery Week, so we're going to talk about Embroidery Editor on your machine and how you can change the settings so that you can get like a preview of what you want to stitch out. So before I get going, I just want to do a shout out to our dealers. Lots of our dealers in Canada are open and doing curbside delivery, and that's really exciting. I know in some provinces, some of the restrictions are lifting, so that's getting exciting too. So make sure that as soon as you can get into your local Janome dealer that you go and have a look at what's new and maybe have a shopping list if you have and that kind of thing. So we're just really excited to keep everybody sewing. Even though things are starting to open, we don't know what's going to happen. So we're just going to keep sewing. That's all we can do. So my name is Erin. I'm an educator with Janome Canada, and I'm in Alberta. And so we'll get started now. We're going to talk about Embroidery Editor screen on your embroidery machine. And what that looks like is when you first turn on your embroidery machine, you have these choices here. You can look at the designs, or you can do some lettering, or you can go into the edit screen. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to go into the edit screen, but first I'm just going to send my arm home so that it's not in the way. And that's important to do when you are finished embroidering so that everything gets put back where it's supposed to go. So this is the edit screen here. And yes, okay. So this is what it looks like. Your edit screen becomes basically the canvas for your hoop. So if you notice up here, it says my hoop is the square 20. And then there's lots of different functions along here. But as we can see, there's no design here. So I'm going to X out of here, and I'm going to go back to the designs. And the design I want to pick is this one, this really pretty corner flower. So the hoop is going to move now, and that's okay because I am going to stitch this out later. But what I want to do is I want to start editing this design. So instead of pressing my back arrow, I'm going to press the house so that I can go into the edit screen. And now we can see that we've got our design here on the edit screen. And now all of these functions are available to us. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about color grouping and changing the colors of the design and the background so it can look like what it may look like on your fabric, and also what it might look like in a monochromatic look. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move my design here to the corner, and then I want to duplicate it because I want to fill the whole thing. So now I'm going to press this button here, and now I have copied my design all the way around. So that is a really interesting way that you can make one design go all the way around. So this is the 550E embroidery machine that I'm using today. And so now if we go over here, if we look at the color grouping, oh, and it took me to where I didn't want to be. So if we look at here for the color grouping, and I will come back to the color grouping there. So I want to talk first about changing the colors. Hi, Anne. Oh, you're in Delaware. How's the weather there today? I hope it's okay. So the design I want to work with here is my little flower. So these are my threads that I have, and I'm just going to move the camera over here so you can see my thread colors. So these are the 4 threads that I have, going from a dark reddish purple to a light purpley pink. And so the colors of my design don't match what I've picked. So one by one, I'm going to change the color. So I know that my first color I want to be the darkest one. And then, so then I'm going to darken it up. And I think that's pretty close to what I have. And keep in mind that when you're looking at the different colors, they're going to look different on your screen versus my screen. That just has to do with your color settings and that kind of thing. So then I'm going to choose the next color, and the machine has it picked as a yellow, but I want more like a purple. So I'm going to make it more of a purpley color like that. Hi, Amanda. And then the next color, it has chosen as a light aqua, and I have like a purpley pink. So I'm going to choose that color here, and I'm going to go about there. I think that's pretty good. And then my last color, they have as a light purple, but my purple is going to be even lighter than that. So I'm going to change that as well. And then the fabric I have chosen for this sample is pink. So I'm going to make my background probably like that. So now when I press OK, we're going to see what the design looks like just in that one corner. So it didn't change all of the colors, and that's because I didn't group them. So now if I go back and start again, I can group them, and then I'll have all the colors changed. So what that looks like is, so now with the little boxes, they're grouped. And so then I can make further edits, or I can decide, no, I don't want them to be grouped anymore. So I'm going to choose a different design now, because I want to show you what I actually have stitched out, which is kind of exciting. So I'm going to go back to my flower that I've got, and I still need to change the colors. So I'm going to change the colors really quickly. I'm not going to talk you through it this time, just so that we can see what it's going to look like. And if you wanted to, you could change the names in here. And then my background, I'm going to make it just a little bit there. That's a better color for my background. So now I'm going to click OK. And now we can see what the design is going to look like on the fabric. And what's really cool is that when I hold my sample up to my picture, I just need to grab the camera here. When I hold my sample up to my picture, that's what it looks like. So it gives you a pretty good estimation of what your design is going to look like on your fabric. So I still have one color that I need to stitch on here, which I'll do later. But it does work pretty good with adjusting the colors like that. The other thing that you can do in the editor screen is you can go here to this icon. What this icon does is it changes it from one color to be a monochromatic design. And so that's really neat, because now you can envision embroidery designs as something other than, you know, an embroidery block, because wouldn't this look beautiful, this design stitched out on some organza and appliqued onto a wedding dress or a bridesmaid's dress or something like that. And then when I hold up my other sample that I did, I actually stitched out the design with a metallic thread. And so when you look at this design and then look at the screen, it works in much the same way to show it as just one color. So there's a couple things I want to tell you about stitching in monochromatic setting, and here I'll flip so you can see my face. So there's a couple things, a couple settings you need to be aware of. First of all, if you are stitching everything in one color so that it doesn't stop, make sure that you take the one stitch stop setting off of your machine. Otherwise, every time it changes position or cuts the thread, you're going to have to go back and restart it. So that happened for the first little bit with this one because all of these little dots are stitched individually. So I couldn't figure out why it was stopping and starting when I had it on monochrome. So then when I changed the one stitch stop, when I turned it off, then it stitched out smoothly without stopping. So that's something that I learned when using the monochrome setting. So that doesn't mean that you can't just keep all your colors the same when you're embroidering, so that you just don't change the thread, but it really is easier to have it on that monochrome setting in the embroidery edit screen. So when we go back now to the embroidery editor, I'm going to press my little house icon here so that we can go back and choose a different design. So I want to show you about color grouping so that you can have a setting as everything stitching, all your colors stitching together. So I've picked my daisy design and I'm going to press the house and I'm going to go back here to the edit. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to duplicate my design. So first I want to move it over here so that it's in the right spot. And then I want to press this button here, which is going to make 3 copies and have it in a circle. So that's good. And then I want to go over here to the grouping so that they're all together. And then at this point here, when you group, you can move your design up or down on the editor screen. So that's really handy if you have your design laid out already on the screen and you don't want to have to move each component individually. So when I turn the grouping off, we go back to the main screen here. And then this button here is the color screen. So when you hit the color, screen, it brings everything up. And then when you press OK, it puts it here where you can, if you check the list now of the colors, you just have 3 colors. Whereas before, if it's not grouped together, if we go back to the edit screen and we say, and we do it fresh, so we'll get our design here and we'll go back to edit. And then we're going to make it, reposition it. Oops. Now my fingers are being silly. So this little stylus pen is so handy. So now when we do that and we say okay, and we go into our color list here, you can see it stops and starts for every color change. So when you go back into the edit and we look at the color grouping, now it will put all of our colors together. So now we just have 3 color changes. So that makes it really easy to adjust how things stitch out when you are at your embroidery machine. So does anybody have any questions about color grouping and changing colors on the machine, or any questions about embroidery? I will tell you while we're waiting for some questions to come up that all the details for these settings and that kind of thing are in your manual on pages 41 to 43 or 44. So the manual is quite good with explaining how that does. Oh, Liz, that's a great question. How do you resize a design? So if we go in here to the edit, and I'm going to group all of the designs here. So we'll group everything and press OK. Now we can oh, I didn't know it could do that. Look at that. So that isn't quite what I was looking for. So I'm just going to ungroup so that we can go back here. So this button here is the resize button. Yes, I think you can do what I showed you on your S9. It has a very similar editing screen. So when you are editing a design on your embroidery machine, you can only go up to 120% or down to 80%. So what that does is on the machine itself, it doesn't have the ability to subtract or add additional stitches, so it can only go by 20% either way. And so we can see here that I didn't have the design grouped, so it just resized one small component here. So that's how you make something bigger or smaller. And that's a great point as well, Liz. We can center it with the centering icon. So if I X out here, if I close that and go back, and let's pick a different design. Let's pick the full daisy this time. Now I've got a bunch of different things. So now I can go in here and I can tap on them and I can see what is part of my main design and what isn't. Okay, so now I have oh, that's the zoom. Oh, that's cool. Okay. So now I have my flower here. So I've moved it around and then I changed my mind and I want to have it centered in my hoop now. So now I can go back over here and I can press this button and it pops it to the center. So Sandra, great question about adding text. So to add text, I'm going to need a bigger hoop because right now I have a square 14 hoop. So I'm going to make my hoop bigger and I'm going to choose the square 20. So now we can see that I've got more room here on my hoop to add text and that kind of thing. So I'm going to move my flower down. I'm going to say okay, and I'm going to go back to edit. Okay, so I'm going to go back to edit and then I'm going to choose the ABC. Thank you. So this is how you would add text to something. So I'm going to type the word daisy. And I'm going to make it large. And I'm going to say okay. Oops. And now it wants to move that. So now when I go to the home, I can go here. And I can alter it so that it's a little more spread apart. And I can make it curved and I can say okay. And then I can go to the home and I can pick another design. And so now I've got my design with the flower. And so that's now what my machine is going to stitch out. So that's how you add text to an embroidery design. So that was a great question. It took me a few minutes to figure it out. I haven't done it in a little while, so that's awesome. So do we have any other questions about embroidery editing? If you do have other questions, please don't hesitate to leave us a comment or anything that you have a question about. We can definitely show you how to do that. Oh, you're very welcome, Sandra. I hope you guys enjoyed our Instagram live today, and you'll be able to see it in a few days on our YouTube channel when we add some edits. and that kind of thing. So we'll put it up on our YouTube channel, and you can also find lots of sewing content on our blog, which is genomilife.wordpress.com, and you can get in touch with us on any of our social media channels. And don't forget to check out our Pinterest boards. We've been busy working with different machines and coming up with some inspiration projects for you to look at specifically with your machine. Oh, and Instagram has done a change. So now our videos are going to be posted in Instagram TV. And so I'm sure if you do a Google search, you will be able to figure out how to get that. So thank you so much for watching us today. Oh, Sandra, you have a cousin who lives in Cayley. That's awesome. That's where I live. So thanks for watching us today, and I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.